The afternoon sun blazed over the small suburban town, where life usually moved at a steady, uneventful rhythm. On this particular day, however, tension was brewing at the edge of the local park. Two siblings, Jamal and Jordan, identical twins with sharp eyes and quiet confidence, were on their way home after school. Their backpacks swung lazily with each step, and they laughed over an inside joke, enjoying the warm breeze. But their peace didn't last long. A group of older boys stepped into their path, blocking the sidewalk. At first glance, the situation might have looked like harmless banter, but the sneers on the boys' faces and the way they squared their shoulders told a different story. These weren't random kids out to chat, they were trouble. The ringleader, a tall boy with a smirk plastered across his face, spat on the ground before speaking. "Well, look what we got here," he drawled. His tone dripped with arrogance and cruelty. "Couple of wannabe tough guys, walking through our park." Jamal and Jordan exchanged a look but didn't respond. They had dealt with this kind of energy before. Keeping calm, they tried to step around the group, but the bullies shifted, closing ranks and forcing the twins to stop. Another boy chuckled darkly. "What's the rush? Scared?" He emphasized the last word, making it clear this wasn't about fun. It was about intimidation. The comments quickly turned uglier. Racial slurs slipped from their mouths, each one sharper than the last. The group jeered, laughing among themselves as if cruelty gave them strength. The insults weren't new to the twins. They had heard such words before, but that didn't make them any less cutting. Still, Jamal and Jordan didn't react. They had been taught discipline from an early age, drilled in martial arts not just as a way of fighting but as a way of living. Their sensei had instilled in them that strength wasn't about throwing the first punch. It was about knowing when to hold back and when to stand firm. The ringleader mistook their silence for weakness. He stepped closer, jabbing a finger into Jamal's chest. "What? Nothing to say? Thought you'd cry or run home to mommy." His friends laughed loudly, feeding on the display. Jordan's jaw tightened, but he didn't move. Jamal simply looked the boy in the eye and said nothing. Their calm composure only seemed to enrage the bullies further. "Let's teach them a lesson," one muttered, cracking his knuckles. The twins glanced at each other again. It was a look only siblings could share, a silent understanding. They didn't want to fight, but if one came, they were ready. The bullies didn't realize the danger of what they were about to unleash. To them, Jamal and Jordan were just quiet black kids they could push around. They had no idea that the twins had trained for years, that behind those calm stares were fighters disciplined, focused, and ready to defend themselves if pushed too far. The air grew heavier. The first move hadn't been made yet, but the storm was about to break. The circle of bullies tightened, their jeers growing louder as they sensed an easy target. The ringleader cracked a grin and shoved Jamal hard on the shoulder, making him stumble back a step. "See? Not so tough," he sneered, earning laughter from his crew. Jordan immediately stepped forward, steadying his brother with one hand and fixing the ringleader with a cold stare. "You should back off," he said calmly, his voice level but firm. That only made them laugh harder. "Back off? Or what?" One of the bigger boys mocked. "You gonna cry? You two think you're better than us." The insults grew sharper, turning more personal, laced with venom. A few bystanders in the park began to notice what was happening. Some parents pulled their children away quietly, not wanting them near the confrontation. Others stayed at a distance, whispering nervously. Jamal's patience was wearing thin. He straightened his backpack, his voice steady. "We don't want trouble, but if you push this any further, you'll regret it." That warning only fueled their arrogance. The ringleader puffed his chest and stepped even closer, his face inches from Jamal's. "Big words," he spat, "but words don't mean anything here." With that, he shoved Jamal again, harder this time. Jordan's eyes narrowed. He glanced quickly at his brother, who gave the faintest nod. It wasn't just agreement. It was permission. The line had been crossed. One of the bullies, emboldened by the show, swung his fist toward Jordan. But the punch never landed. In a blur of movement, Jordan sidestepped and grabbed the attacker's wrist, twisting it just enough to send him yelping in pain. He pushed the boy away, sending him stumbling back into the dirt. The sudden precision shocked the group. Their laughter faltered. For the first time, they realized something wasn't right. These weren't ordinary kids they were messing with. Still, pride wouldn't let the ringleader back down. "Get them!" he barked. 3 boys rushed at once. Jamal moved first, ducking under a wild swing and planting a controlled strike to the attacker's midsection. The boy wheezed and collapsed, gasping for air. Jordan blocked another punch and countered with a sharp sweep, sending his opponent crashing to the ground. The third came from behind, but Jamal pivoted smoothly, grabbing his arm and flipping him over his shoulder. The bully landed flat on his back with a painful thud. The fight lasted mere seconds. Each move was sharp, efficient, and perfectly executed. Not the brawling chaos the bullies expected, but practiced technique honed over years of training. The onlookers gasped in disbelief. Whispers spread quickly. "They know martial arts." The remaining bullies hesitated, their bravado faltering as they watched their friends groan on the ground. The twins hadn't thrown a single reckless punch. Every strike had been measured, every defense precise. Jamal and Jordan stood side by side, calm and composed, eyes fixed on the ringleader. They hadn't raised their voices or lost their temper. They didn't need to. Their movements spoke louder than any words. The ringleader's smirk began to crack, replaced by unease. For the first time, he realized he might have made a mistake. The balance of power in the park had shifted, and everyone could feel it. The ringleader's confidence wavered as he saw his friends writhing on the ground. But pride and the watching crowd forced him forward. "Don't just stand there," he barked, his voice cracking slightly. "Get up. We're not losing to them." 2 of the bullies struggled back to their feet, shaking with anger more than courage. One charged at Jamal, fists flailing wildly. Jamal didn't flinch. With a calm sidestep, he let the punch sail past, then used the boy's momentum against him, striking his shoulder with just enough force to send him sprawling again. Jordan faced the other, who tried to tackle him. Dropping low, Jordan pivoted, hooking his leg behind the boy's knees and sweeping him to the ground. The move was so fluid that onlookers gasped, some clapping instinctively, as though they were watching a martial arts demonstration instead of a street fight. The ringleader growled in frustration. He lunged at Jamal, throwing a heavy punch meant to end the fight in one blow. Jamal blocked it effortlessly, twisting the boy's arm behind his back in a controlled hold. The ringleader hissed in pain, trying to break free, but Jamal's grip was unyielding. "Enough," Jamal said quietly. His tone wasn't angry, but firm, carrying the authority of someone who knew he could end the fight at any moment. But the ringleader wasn't ready to accept defeat. Using his free hand, he clawed at Jamal's shirt, snarling insults, some of them ugly slurs. Jordan stepped forward, his eyes flashing with restrained fury. With a single strike to the ringleader's ribs, careful but firm, he forced the boy to stumble back, gasping for air. The group's bravado evaporated. What had begun as arrogant bullying had transformed into a humiliating defeat. The twins hadn't even broken a sweat. They weren't just holding their ground. They were in complete control. The bystanders, who had once stood at a safe distance, now leaned closer, murmuring with awe. Parents shook their heads, whispering to each other about how those boys had handled themselves. Some even filmed the encounter, capturing every disciplined move the twins made. One of the younger bullies, clutching his bruised arm, whispered shakily to the ringleader, They're trained. We can't beat them." The ringleader's face flushed with anger and humiliation. He looked around, realizing the crowd was no longer laughing at the twins but at him. His reputation as the local tough guy was crumbling before his eyes. Still, his pride kept him from backing down. He picked up a stick from the ground, gripping it tightly as if it would restore his confidence. "You think you're better than us?" he shouted, raising it threateningly. Jamal and Jordan shifted into defensive stances, calm, steady, unafraid. The sight was enough to silence the park. Even the wind seemed to pause. The twins didn't look like victims anymore. They looked like masters. The ringleader froze. For the first time, he truly saw what he was facing. Not just two kids, but disciplined fighters who had chosen restraint over violence, even when pushed to the edge. And he realized too late that this fight was already lost. The park had fallen silent. The ringleader stood trembling with the stick in his hand, sweat dripping down his temple. His friends were scattered on the ground, nursing bruises and gasping for air. Around them, whispers and murmurs rippled through the small crowd of onlookers. Jamal's eyes locked on the stick. His stance remained steady, calm but unyielding. "Put it down," he said, his voice low and even. "This doesn't have to go any further." The ringleader hesitated. The stick felt useless in his grip now, a desperate attempt to hold onto power that had already slipped through his fingers. The twins hadn't even fought out of anger. They had dismantled his entire group with precision and restraint. He could see it in their eyes. They weren't scared of him, and they never had been. Jordan stepped forward, his presence commanding. "We warned you," he said firmly. "You wanted to humiliate us. Instead, you humiliated yourself." His words cut deeper than any punch. The ringleader's bravado collapsed. His hand shook as he tossed the stick to the ground. He took a step back, then another, his tough facade breaking as the crowd's eyes bore into him. A few people even laughed quietly, the sound stabbing at his pride. The twins didn't chase him. They didn't need to. Their silence was enough. The bullies gathered themselves clumsily, helping each other up, limping away in shame. The once dominant group now looked small, beaten, and exposed. As they left, a few bystanders approached the twins. A middle-aged man clapped Jamal on the shoulder. "You boys handled that better than most grown men would have," he said, admiration in his tone. A mother nearby nodded, adding, "You didn't just defend yourselves. You showed real control." Jamal and Jordan exchanged a glance, a quiet smile tugging at their lips. They had always trained under their sensei's guiding principle. True strength is not in fighting but in choosing when to fight. Today, that lesson had been proven in front of the whole neighborhood. One young boy tugged at Jordan's sleeve, eyes wide with awe. "Are you superheroes?" he asked innocently. Jordan crouched down, smiling warmly. "No," he said gently. "We're just like you. We just know how to stand up when we need to." The boy grinned, and his mother quickly pulled him away, offering the twins a grateful nod. As the crowd dispersed, the brothers finally turned toward home. The adrenaline had worn off, leaving only the quiet satisfaction of knowing they had faced hatred and beaten it. Not just with fists, but with discipline and self-respect. Behind them, the bullies' retreat was the only proof of what had happened. Their reputation, once built on fear, had crumbled in a single afternoon. And word would spread quickly. This small town had learned an unforgettable lesson. Jamal and Jordan were not victims. They were fighters. The sun dipped lower in the sky as the twins walked side by side, their shadows stretching long across the pavement. They didn't need to say anything. Both knew exactly what the other was thinking. They had defended their dignity. They had defended each other. And most importantly, they had shown everyone watching that real power isn't in hate. It's in control.